What's up, everybody? I'm Jonathan, the Baptist, and today we're going to talk about Candace Owens' new podcast, Shot in the Dark. I think that's what it's called. Let's just make sure. Um, it's on the Daily Wire Plus app. I don't know if it's anywhere else, but that's where I will listen to it. Yeah, Shot in the Dark. All right. Um, it might be on YouTube too. I don't know. I don't know if YouTube will let you talk about that kind of stuff. So I did a whole video about the illogical reasoning of the COVID vaccine, which I may have already said too much for this. Um, and that video got taken off immediately. So I might throw that up on Rumble if anyone wants to go watch that. So I'm just going to be careful what I say so that this video also doesn't end up in the same realm. Yeah, so we'll see. But I wanted to talk about there's a couple of things that I thought about the first podcast or the first episode that I thought were worth pointing out. So the first is that you should go listen to it. It's really good. I found a lot of what she said compelling, and I agree. I feel like we really need more information. One of the problems that I have with like this whole debate about vaccines is there's no transparency. And I remember it was some of her first episodes where on her new Daily Wire show, where Candace talked about specific things that happened during her most recent pregnancy, and so I found those shocking because I've never been pregnant. I've never been in the hospital basically ever, for myself at least. So like I don't know what goes on in a hospital, but I've always felt like there's a lot of stuff goes on that just it seems a little crazy, like or shady, I should say, a little shady. And so I'm glad that she's bringing a lot of that to light. So yeah, I'm with her. I'm not quite as anti-vax as she is. At least not yet. Maybe she's gonna change my mind. I don't know. There are certain vaccines that I think are just ridiculous. But I have had some vaccines, like because I've been to Africa a few times, and so I had to get hepatitis the hepatitis vaccine. I had to take the vaccine for yellow fever, I think, and there was one more that I had to take, typhoid, which wasn't an injection; it was a pill, and you had to take a certain amount of them to kill the bacteria, and so some of those, like, people die a lot. Oh, malaria, that's another one. I don't think that's a vaccine; that's a pill as well. Malaria kills a lot of people, and so the malaria vaccine, if you want to call it that, it's very, very helpful. And so, like, I'm not quite as anti-vax as Candace, and so I know she's very specific about which one she's talking about. She's talking about prenatal. And like the chart that she showed about how many vaccines they give now versus back in the day, it's pretty shocking. I didn't realize that they just were adding vaccines. It's kind of crazy to think about. One point that I really wanted to kind of push back a little bit. She was talking. I don't think she outright said it, but she kind of implied that there might be a relationship between vaccines and allergies, like so many allergies that are that people have today. Like everybody seems to have an allergy to something now. And she's like, well, it doesn't really seem to have always been that way. So I suggest that it hypothetically, it's possible that vaccines could cause that, I suppose. But here's maybe a more plausible explanation, I think, to why there's so many more allergies now. It could be the same argument you used for a different thing, that we live in such a sanitary society, and we have modern medical inventions like the EpiPen that save lives, and so that there's just people who would have died 100 years ago are now able to live. And so it's not that allergies have been added to the population, but rather it's easier for people with allergies to live. A second point, there might be stuff in our food that we're not talking about. I'm not saying that there isn't stuff in the vaccines. I don't know. And I'm excited to see where she goes, because I didn't listen to the podcast before, because I wasn't on par. I didn't really follow Candace back in the day until she came to the Daily Wire. So I'm happy to listen to her argument for or against the vaccines, because I'm an open mind. I think that it's good to. I think that as a Christian, the truth is what matters, and so I'm the kind of person that will always challenge every idea that I have to find the truth. Why? Because God can take being challenged, because he's so real. He is the truth. The only thing that can come out of that is truth. And so he will always be proven true over and over again, because he is the truth. And so as a Christian, I am fine with challenging ideas. I'm challenge things all the time in my mind, and then and what comes out is the truth, or at least what I think is the truth sometimes. And so the fault is me. It's not on God. Anywho, so I'm always happy to hear arguments for or against, and when I criticize something, it's just because I think it's less truthful. I just don't think it matches up to what is truth. So I'm always happy even to hear the wackiest, craziest theories, because hey, that's how you're going to get to the truth. The truth can be tested, and it will always come out true. And I feel like there's, I really like the part of the episode where she talks about how there's like this power that people in power are trying to cling to it, and that's why they're like afraid of being challenged. They're afraid that this truth is being challenged, which may be the case. But here's something that I'm going to talk broader and not just talk about vaccines, but I think that science has become a god to a lot of people. And so they've become religiously tied to science. It's this idea of science, and of course it is nothing like the Christian scientific method that came out of Christendom. It's a bastardization of science. It's basically these religious figures who determine what is truth. And so what they see when you challenge and search for the truth and ask questions is you're actually challenging the authorities. You're challenging the dogma of science. And so that's why Fauci can say, I am science. It's not because he's actually science. It's because he's one of the religious leaders inside of this scientific cult. And so there are some true, like, non-Christian scientists who actually do good work. We'll say hypothetically. So I'm not going to say everybody that's in the science world is, but the problem is there's so many preconceived ideas in their religious cult, like evolution, like there is no God, that that their worldview makes sense without God. Like there's so many preconceived ideas that they actually can't do real science. That's a whole nother discussion that we can have. And so the vaccine, I think, is really just one of the things that made it obvious. The COVID stuff. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say any further. But the COVID vaccine, all of the freak out over that. Sorry, I got an itch on my foot. Made it obvious that there's this cult of science, that is desperately trying to stay in power, and it kind of reminds me of the Pharisees in the New Testament. That Jesus was coming and challenging them because they were no longer holding to the truth. They were no longer following God, and he challenged them on it. And why did they hate him? Because he challenged their power. The power was supposed to be with God, but they had pushed themselves up as the great ones, the leaders. So anyways, so I thought that was really interesting. And I feel like that's a conversation Christians are going to have to start having, because Christians can't just continue to blindly believe whatever science tells them. It means you might have to question vaccines. I'm not saying that every vaccine. I would never say that every vaccine is bad. I would never say that unless I can be proven wrong. I mean, so I guess technically I could say that. It's just I would need proof first. So I'm open to hear Candace's side of it. I thought that some of the revelations she had in the episode were kind of startling, and shocking. And then there were others, like the one I was telling you about. I feel like those could be explained in other ways. It's not necessarily. I don't think that vaccines are making the world worse. I don't think that all these allergies are around because of vaccines. I think that's a little too far. And again, she never said that, but she asked the question, which, okay, I'm answering the question. I think there's better explanations, like, what are you eating in your food? Like, what are all these pesticides that we're putting on our food actually doing to us? What are all these like processes that our food is going through to preserve our food actually doing for us? And I'm not necessarily saying that all pesticides are bad, and I'm not necessarily saying that all the processes are bad. What I'm saying is we need to start having these dialogues, these discussions about it, because what is it doing to us? What are all these things that we're putting in our food? These steroids, these other things. Like when the less high fructose corn syrup I eat, the better I feel. But high fructose corn syrup is in everything. It's in everything. And I know I've gotten kind of off topic, but I feel like there are other discussions we can have without, doubting everything. I don't think everything that we're doing is wrong. I don't think, I don't think it's necessarily the food, but I think that we should be having these discussions. I think that our society would be better if we asked these questions and sought the answers. And of course, one of the problems is these leaders in science would be the ones that are answering, and it's like, I don't know, like a lot of them are acting like politicians and bureaucrats rather than scientists. So I don't know. It's tough. And I don't know. I don't have the answers for some of these things, and but I just wanted to kind of comment on some of the things that she talked about. Some I agree, some I disagree. It was a really great episode. I look forward to really the whole process. I know very little about all these drugs. For me, as a pro-lifer, one of the hard things for me is uh, the abortion issue inside of vaccinations. And so people are quick to tell you, like, oh, well, they're not actually using aborted fetal tissue cell in there. They're using cloned uh, tissue, or tissue that was grown from aborted fetal tissue cells. So that's different. How? Like, it's actually like 50 generations beyond those original aborted tissue cells. I'm like, okay, like, still, could you not use aborted fetal tissue cells in the vaccine? Like, obviously, it's different from like using them to in the drug, and there's a moral difference, I think, from using them to help create the drug and using them actually in the drug. So, like, the difference is, am I going to have, like, aborted fetal tissue cell in my body? And for me, like, that meant that I went without in 2020. I was very close to doing it in 2021 because my sister lives out of the country, and my whole family was going to, or part of my family was going to go visit, and I wanted to go with them, but I just couldn't do that. So the country she's in changed the laws at the last minute to follow the U.S., and I was like, whatever. Anywho, so let me know what you think. If this video is still up, if you'd like to hear my video about the COVID stuff, let me know. I will go throw that up on Rumble, and it might actually already be on there. I don't think I did put it on there, but I can find out in 1 second. No, it is not. So I could throw that up on Rumble if people are interested in seeing that. So let me know in the comments. Go check out Candace Owens' podcast about the vaccinations. It's really good. Again, I don't agree with everything she said in there, but she said a lot of good stuff. And so, and again, I think she's just asking questions, which I think is the right place to start. So this isn't meant to criticize what she said on there. I did think there were a couple points that I would have worded differently, but, you know, hey, I'm not her. She's not me, so that's whatever. She has a giant platform. I do not. Anyways, I thank everybody for watching this, and I will catch you next time. Peace.